in listen-only mode.
Hello everybody, and welcome to May's Great Garment Graphics webinar presented by Transfer Express. Today's topic is a crash course in custom transfer artwork. For those of you who have not joined us before, my name is Andy Curtis. I have been with Transfer Express's dealer service department for a little over 10 years now, and welcome to the webinar. For those of you who have joined us before, thank you for coming back. We appreciate your attendance, and hopefully everyone's going to learn a little bit today. This should be very informative. We hope to give everyone an idea of how to handle custom transfer artwork in terms of doing business with us here at Transfer Express, and how to go about doing it, how to make it easier for yourself and everybody involved. So hopefully everyone's going to learn today. So without further ado, let's move on to talking about what the agenda is, shall we? Just to run through this real quick, today's agenda, we're going to talk about defining the difference between Easy Prints and Easy Prints Plus. If you've ever placed a custom order with us here at Transfer Express, you've probably heard these words before. When to use Easy Prints versus Easy Prints Plus. We're going to talk about the questions that you need to ask your customer when they've provided their own artwork. We're going to go over guidelines for art printing. We're going to talk about some tips and tricks, and then at the very end here, hopefully if I don't talk too much, we're actually going to show you how to do an actual artwork upload. All right, so that's the idea. Before we actually get started, though, as usual, if you've attended poll questions right at the very beginning, so can you run our first poll for us?
Absolutely. Thank you, Andy, so much for joining us to present today. And I'd also, again, like to extend a warm welcome to those attending. Our first poll question is, do you create your own artwork?
For us, because we're never really sure all the time where the artwork comes from. That's one of the funny things to working here is but we don't really know if you're the ones making it or if you're getting it from your customers, and how often it goes one way or the other.
So it looks like, Andy, 68% of attendees do create their own artwork and 32% do not.
That's actually a little higher than I thought. So that's good, though, because a lot of these tips and tricks are going to be very useful for those of you who do create your own. If you don't, we're still going to have some information for you guys, too. So it's interesting to see the dynamic there. We have one more poll question that's going to help us know who we're talking to. Jody, if you don't mind running that second one for me real fast.
Absolutely. And that is, what is your biggest frustration about custom transfer artwork?
This list is not exhaustive. There's probably a couple things that we could add to this, but this at least gives us an idea of what challenges you all have in regards to custom artwork, at least some basic ideas.
We'll close the poll in just a few more seconds here. And Andy, 71% say they don't know enough about it, 13% don't have graphic software, and 16% say it takes too long for the transfers.
Okay, well that's actually some interesting numbers too, as a matter of fact. I'm not surprised to see everyone, so many people voting for that first one. I don't know enough about it, because that's, truthfully, when I started working here many years ago, I didn't know anything about that kind of stuff either, so it's a learning curve. I learn something new every day. So I understand that completely, and hopefully we cover a little bit of all of that for everybody. As always, if you've joined us before, you know the policy is, if you have questions, please take a moment to ask them. I will do my darndest to get to all the questions you all have. If we have time at the end, we'll take some. If not, please rest assured that every question you ask will be responded to. If we don't talk about it during the webinar, we will email you personally after the webinar. Okay, so do not be afraid to ask questions. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on. The first thing we're going to talk about, based on the agenda we saw a minute ago, the first thing we're going to do is define Easy Prints and define Easy Prints Plus, because these are two terms you're going to hear from us here at Transfer Express. First off is Easy Prints. Easy Prints refers to artwork coming from us here at Transfer Express. Easy Prints our entire idea book, our collection of thousands upon thousands of pieces of artwork. Now, our artwork can all be customized to fit your needs. You hear the terms layout and clip art used when we're talking about our artwork. We do have the largest art collection in the industry, and we're not tooting our own horn there. It's really true. We do have over 10,000 choices and counting. We add more every year. No doubt everyone by this point has heard about Dane Clement from Great Dane Graphics joining us on the Group Stall family and helping us with our art collection. So Easy Prints refers to anything you get out of our catalog. You choose, for example, on the left slide here, we've chosen QBK 181. We've then changed the Compton basketball to say Grafton Jaguars. We've left all the basketball clip art, could be the girls' basketball team, for example. And then you see the transfers come to you and press them and boom. There you have it, Grafton Jaguars transfers. So now this again is Easy Prints. This is what we define as our artwork. This is how you can do custom artwork without actually having to have the custom artwork. Okay? For those of you who are creating artwork, that was a pretty decent amount when we asked that poll question a moment ago. This really applies to you folks when you're the ones creating the custom artwork. Don't reinvent the wheel. Check out what we have in the idea book. Honest and truly, if you're looking to do something, we probably have you covered. And even if you don't like it, you can customize it to some degree or another, depending on what you're trying to do. So don't ever rule out turning to Easy Prints. And we'll talk about the benefits in just a minute here. So if this is an Easy Print, then that bears asking, what is an Easy Print Plus? Easy Prints Plus is your artwork that you have sent to us. So these are pieces of artwork that have been sent to us, and we'll talk about in a couple minutes how to send artwork to us, but these are pieces of artwork that you send to us. That is what an Easy Print Plus is. So the napkins, with the sketches on them, the drawings that a child has sent in, maybe a JPEG that a local landscape company has emailed you. It could be just about anything, but keep in mind, as the little statement says there, art charges may apply for excessive art time to redraw. What this means is if you send us the Mona Lisa and you ask us to recreate it, you're probably charged. And that's not something that happens all the time. Keep in mind, art charts are a common occurrence. They're only for really intense artwork that really does bear a lot of redrawing necessary. So. That is Easy Prints versus Easy Prints Plus. Easy Prints is our artwork here at Transfer Express that you're using. Easy Prints Plus is your artwork that you have sent to us. So, since we've defined the two terms, the next question is, when do I use one over the other? What are the benefits? Why should I even bother looking at Easy Prints? Well, let's compare here. Easy Prints are great when you have a customer that has an idea or a concept. And I cannot tell you all how often we hear this. Customers will call us and tell us that a group of cheerleaders needs some kind of uniforms or needs some kind of spirit gear maybe, and they have ideas, but they don't have a specific firmly set in stone idea of what they want. Well, that's what our Easy Prints process was made for. You show them our idea book with all of our cheerleading designs. For example, you flip to the cheerleading section of the idea book, and there you have it. Either have them choose, or if they've left it up to you, you can choose. But the point is, when your customer doesn't know for sure exactly what they want, don't reinvent the wheel. Go to the idea book. We have 5,000 layouts, over 5,000 clip arts. We have something for you, I promise. It's also great. Easy Prints are great when you don't want to have to sit there and create the artwork. Again, that's the other point to Easy Prints is we make it. You don't have to sit there and do the graphic design. Again, 70-something% of you all said I don't know enough about creating or creating custom artwork. So don't bother doing it. Let us do it for you. Okay? And Easy Prints are great when organizations really know what they want. That's one of the benefits to our idea book. And when somebody says, oh, well, I have a family reunion and I want shirts for it, your next question is, okay, well, what do you want exactly? Yes, because usually, well, I'm not really sure. That's when you put it in front of them and have them choose. Now, Easy Prints Plus, that's not to say that there are times when you do really need to do custom artwork. You really need to avoid Easy Prints completely. You have something you need. That's when Easy Prints Plus comes into play. Okay, those are the particular times when somebody has a specific logo. The landscape company that has come to you hands you a business card and says, hey, I want this artwork off of my business card. We get business cards in the mail all the time here. Also, when a member of an organization or a school has created a custom design, that happens pretty often too. Schools will have contests, and the winning student, the winning piece of artwork is made into T-shirts. That actually happens quite a bit during this time of year, as everyone knows. I'm sure all the parents out there, school is wrapping up here, so we do see a lot of that this time of year, actually. So there are times when Easy Prints Plus is completely necessary. So those are the benefits to one or the other. And keep in mind, when you call our dealer services department, our reps will help guide you. If you're having a hard time deciding, okay, well, do I use your stuff? Do I use my stuff? Give us a call. Tell us what your situation is, and we'll help you out. That's what we're here for. So this is an important little part. Now, I anticipate people having questions or wanting to have this list somewhere. Keep in mind, at the end of the webinar, we are going to post the slides of this webinar on the website in a PDF format. So if we go through the slide or somebody out there says, oh my gosh, well, I would love to have that list, you will be able to get it off the Great Garment Graphics website. But this list is 5 questions you need to ask your customer when they bring you artwork. Okay, these are the things that we here in Dealer Services at Transfer Express, these are the things we're going to ask you. So in turn, these are the things you need to make sure you ask your customer. Now, I understand that people are asking about pricing and charges and such for custom artwork. Just a detour for just a quick second here, because I'm sure that's a question that we're probably seeing a lot of. Now, for those of you who are interested in getting pricing and charges for custom artwork, that is something that I can't just give you a blanket price, a blanket quote for here during the webinar. Your best bet is to give us a call, because pricing will depend upon the information we're actually talking about here on this slide. Your price will depend upon the size of your design, what type of garment it's going on, because that's going to determine what type of transfer we do, the color of your garment, how many colors you're printing, and how many pieces you need. Okay? Those 5 things, those things you need to ask your customer, that's what determines the price. So I'm sure not everybody listening today, not everybody has those same 5 parameters. So price quotes are best given over the phone, and at the end we'll talk about how to contact us. You don't necessarily even have to send us the artwork ahead of time. If you're looking for a rough quote, that's something we can do for you over the phone. But we'll talk about that in just a couple minutes here. That being said, again, these are the 5 questions you need to establish with your customer right off the bat. The finished size, the type of garment, the color of the garment, how many colors is the artwork, and how many pieces do they need. So when you call us, have those 5 pieces of information, because without those pieces of information, I can't promise you we can give you a totally accurate quote. That's what we need to know from you. Okay? So let's talk about the kind of artwork you do get from your customers. Now, I'm sure we have all seen this. The first scenario here, we have 2 scenarios to give you. The first scenario, artwork from customers, is the classic sketch on a napkin. I know that sounds funny. I'm sure there's people out there thinking, sketch on a napkin, what are you talking about? There have been many times here at Transfer Express, customers have actually sent us sketches on napkins and pieces of paper and construction paper, and we get all sorts of craziness all the time. So the one type, the first type we're going to talk about here is when your customer hands you a drawing, a sketch, not an electronic file is the point. Something physical they actually put in your hand. Our designers can use that, whether it's or maybe a business card, or maybe school, like you see in the bottom example here. We have On the Road to Wellness, a little kid's drawing, as opposed to the baseball player drawing on the napkin here. Our designers can use these as a guide to create finished artwork. Now, are these pieces of artwork perfect? Clearly not. You can see our baseball player sketch on the napkin there. We can see he is definitely far from perfect. But we can work with that. We can use that. Now, art charges may apply. To give you a good example here, the artwork you're looking at, that baseball player, he might incur some art charges depending upon how you want to do him. And the same thing with Road to Wellness. If Blue Apple here, Road to Wellness, if you let us use our fonts instead of using this child's handwriting here, that could help us to not incur any additional art charges. Okay? But again, art charges will apply to something that's going to take us a little longer to draw. So then the question is, how do I get this to you? Our best advice is not to send us the original unless you really have to send us the original. Make sure to make a copy for your records. Okay? Especially if you're going to mail something to us, God forbid, the United States Postal Service, they're great, but God forbid they lose a box and you lose the original, that's detrimental to all of us. So make sure whatever you do, you keep a copy of. But the best advice we can give you, scan it or take a picture of it and upload it to us. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with upload, we're going to cover that in a couple minutes. I'm going to walk you through that step by step. But to get the artwork to us, you're going to scan it, take a picture of it. When we say take a picture, we really do mean it. We have people send us photographs of a T-shirt. They'll have somebody wearing a T-shirt, they take a picture of it and send it to us and say, hey, I want what's on this T-shirt. We can do that. All right, and the same thing for a T-shirt or a business card. Take a photograph of it, take a copy of it, send that to us. We want to, again, make sure you don't send us the original. All right, so that's how we handle classic sketch-on napkin artwork. It's totally usable. Art charges may apply, and make sure to keep a copy for yourselves. So the second scenario is, of course, the electronic file. This is where things can get confusing for people because you're never sure, well, what files do you use? Where did the file come from? So we're going to cover all that right now here. So first off, if a customer gives you an electronic file, maybe they hand you a disk, maybe they hand you a CD with the file on it, or maybe they actually email the file to you. The first question is, where did this artwork come from? Now, the reason we ask this is because to bear in mind, if your customer got the artwork off of the internet, red flag. Internet graphics are not made high resolution generally. They're made for a computer monitor. If you're viewing it on the internet, you're viewing it on a computer monitor, and odds are the resolution, the quality of the artwork is lower. Okay, so if your customer has sent you something off the internet, you need to make sure to double check that it's actually a quality file. It happens all the time where we'll get an upload from somebody. Our dealer tells us, oh, well, my customer sent it to me, they got it off the internet. Well, that explains why the quality is low. Photos and other graphics taken off the internet, good printing quality. So depending on the type of transfer, it might only be able to be used as a guide for our designers to create the finished artwork. And again, art charges may apply. Okay? So if you have a customer that has given you artwork from the internet, that's not a no. That's not something you need to refuse. It's simply something we need to dig into just a little bit more. So if you really have gotten artwork off the internet, first question, where did it come from, and is it good quality? So then the next question is, okay, well, if you didn't get it off of the internet, maybe they didn't. There are times when a person will send you artwork and they have created it themselves. That's fantastic. That's perfectly acceptable. What software did they use to create it? Know this information? That's okay. I'm not telling you that this is something you have to know or you can't do business with us. These are just simply help make your life easier and will help make our life easier in turn. So what software did they use to create the artwork? Corel Draw, Illustrator are the two answers we like to hear because usually Corel Draw and Adobe Illustrator artwork is vector, and vector is what we want to hear. Artwork, vector is generally perfect. Vector is what we work with. Okay? Photoshop are two common examples that you'll hear the word raster. Or for those of you who are not in the know, you've heard the word bitmap. Bitmap and raster are the same thing. They are a type of artwork that is not inferior, but it's artwork that is not good for screen printing generally. So when your customer sends you artwork, use that they made it themselves. If they say Corel Illustrator, that's great. It might be vector. That could be usable. If they tell you they made it in Photoshop or PaintShop Pro, well, then it's a bitmap, and it's still usable, but it's not going to be perfect, and there might be art charges involved. And below here, you see our example. Is the artwork raster, bitmap, or vector? Here are the definitions. On the left-hand side, you see what a raster or bitmap, again, the words are the same, what a raster looks like. When you zoom in on that eagle head, sure, from a distance, these two eagles look exactly alike, right? When you zoom in on this left one, instead of seeing clean artwork, you see pixels. You're actually looking at each little square, each little pixel of the artwork. That is what raster or bitmap is. Individual pixels used to create the artwork. Now, bitmaps are great because you can do fine fading, all sorts of gorgeous artwork using bitmaps. Vector, on the other hand, off to the right-hand side here, vector artwork is mathematically perfect artwork. It's been made using functions. Vector artwork can get big or small. It can be perfect no matter what size it's printed at. Vector artwork is smooth, clean lines all the time. This is why we need vector artwork. So let's say your customer has sent you artwork that includes text. If the file is vector artwork, meaning if your customer has sent you something in Corel Draw or Adobe Illustrator, then what we need to know is if your artwork has been converted to curves or converted to outlines. Now, these are terms that are a little bit confusing to everybody. We have people that will call us on a daily basis and ask us to define what is curves, what is outlines, what does that mean, I don't understand. So hopefully we'll give you a help you understand what we're talking about, if any of you have heard this from us before. Converting to curves, converting to outlines is terminology in Adobe Illustrator and Corel Draw. In Corel Draw, it's called converting to curves. In Adobe Illustrator, it's called converting to outlines. That means how the artwork is being looked at by the computer. If you have not converted to curves or converted to outlines, then when you send us text, we have to have the same font on our computer. If we don't, we're not going to see it. However, if you convert your text to curves or outlines, if you're using Adobe, if you convert it to curves, the computer stops looking at it as text. The computer looks at it as a piece of artwork it shouldn't mess with. So instead of entering our computer system and having to look for a font, the computer just shows it to us as if it's a piece of artwork. So in the examples we're looking at here at the top of the screen, what you're seeing here on this left-hand side, where you see the word live text, this is what live text looks like before it's been converted to curves. You can click on it. Your cursor is there. You can delete and backspace and change the text. That has not been converted to curves. If it has been converted to curves or outlines, then you see what's on the right-hand side. Instead of clicking on the text and getting a cursor where you can backspace or delete or any of those things, you get all these weird little dots, these little boxes, these little nodes. This means the artwork has been successfully converted to curves, and when it enters our computer system, there won't be any changing happening. There won't be any weirdness with the fonts. There won't be anything strange occurring. This is what we need. Now, the question people oftentimes don't understand, okay, well, just because my text isn't converted to curves, what does that do to us here at Transfer Express? What do you mean you don't see what I sent you? Here's an example. On the left-hand side, down here at the bottom here, on the left-hand side, you see the word mentor that was on your computer screen that you didn't convert to curves. You send that word mentor to us here at Transfer Express. Because you didn't convert it to curves, you don't have that font. Maybe the font is named something different in our system. Regardless, we don't have a font. So what do we see? We see what's here on the right-hand side. This is an example of what comes up on us because we don't have the font used curves. So again, to be learned here, folks, is if you're using CorelDRAW, Adobe Illustrator, make sure the text is converted to curves or converted to outlines before you send it to us. I'm sure the next question from all of you is, okay, that's great, Andy, but how do you convert to curves or convert to outlines? That question is a little bit more complicated, and we have created tutorial videos on our website on transferexpress.com. There are tutorials to show you how to do that. Okay? That is definitely something we can help direct you to if you call us. We can walk you through or find those videos, and they'll show you. It's very simple to convert to curves, to convert to outlines, folks, just to level with you here. You don't have to be a graphic designer. I can do it myself, and anyone who's spoken to me on the phone knows graphic designer. I am a customer service rep. So I assure you, converting to curves, converting to outlines, very easy process. So let's talk about artwork guidelines for screen printing. Guidelines meaning, what can you do? Obviously, screen printing is fantastic. Silk screening, screen printing is something that will continue to be around forever. But the question is, what artwork can you do as screen printing? Because there is a limit. Screen printing can't do everything. Okay. Well, one of the things that comes up is, how detailed is your artwork? That's the limitation. Detailed. How small is the artwork? How detailed is the artwork? How much tiny stuff do you have going on there? So we're going to talk about limitations and guidelines. Okay. The two critical areas, if you see my little note at the top of my screen here, the two critical areas are line thicknesses and show-through thicknesses. We're going to define both of these terms for you, and we're going to talk about what they mean and how they affect you here. The first thing we're talking about on this slide is line thickness. Okay? Line thickness means that anything that you're going to screen print, for example, our butterfly down here at the bottom right of my screen, if you look, you see a butterfly. The line thickness is all of these black areas. We're going to say in this example, a customer has sent you this butterfly, and they want to print the black areas of the butterfly, and the white areas are supposed to be show-through. So line thickness refers to the size of all of these black areas of the butterfly. They need to be 0.012 inches thick. Now the reason for that is, the reason there is that limitation is if any of these black lines of the butterfly, if they're smaller than 0.012 inches thick, they will not print onto a screen for screen printing. We won't be able to burn a screen and make something that small. It's not physically possible. It won't show up. So it's important that when your customer sends you this butterfly, you make sure that the artwork is 0.012 inches thick. Okay, so how to do that? If you have a CorelDRAW, Adobe Illustrator, if you have an art program, create a straight line when you have your file open. Like you can see here next to my butterfly, you see this light gray line that I have going on here next to the butterfly. That light gray line is the line I've created. Okay, I'm going to create that line. I'm going to make it a different color than the butterfly so I can see it. That's why it's gray. And I'm going to make that line 0.012 inches thick, or 0.864 points. I'm going to make it that size, and then I'm going to move that line around, and I'm going to compare it to all the pieces, parts of the butterfly to see if the butterfly is thin enough, or thick enough rather, to see if the butterfly is thick enough to print. And upon doing that, you'll notice that the butterfly isn't. His antennae are not 0.012 inches thick. I know it's a little hard to see. If I could zoom in here, you'd see what I'm talking about. But the butterfly's antennae are too thin. There's no way they'd be able to burn into a screen and we'd be able to screen print them. Off to the right-hand side, you see the same going on with text. It's the same situation. Compton on the top here, our little gray line, our 0.012, we compared it to the N in Compton, and that N is thick enough. We would be able to burn it onto a screen. That's a good thickness. That would work. However, the Compton at the bottom here does not work. See how the letter P gets really super thin right there, and it's too thin to print. Now, that doesn't mean that this whole word Compton wouldn't work. It just means that these thin parts of the letter P wouldn't work. And I bet you if we measured things like the letter N in this bottom Compton and the letter O in this bottom Compton, I bet you these lines would be too thin also. Okay? So you always want to keep an eye out for the thinnest areas. So this is how to check line thickness. This is what we're talking about, line thickness. Okay. Now, if you ever have a file that you are just dead set that you really want us to try printing, we can always attempt to print it. But bear in mind, if you ask us to print something that does not meet this line thickness, we cannot promise you that it will properly print. Okay, just bear that in mind. So that's line thickness. Now let's go ahead and talk about show-through thickness. So we're going to use the same examples we just talked about. There's our butterfly again. And it's funny, this is the same butterfly we use to train our customer service reps, so we're all very familiar with this butterfly. Show-through thickness refers to the open areas, meaning the areas that there's going to be no ink. Some of you have heard screen printers call that strike-through. Okay, it's the same thing. Show-through just means the area not printing. All right, so in our example, we're using the white areas of our butterfly are show-through. So now what we need to do is figure out if they're acceptable thickness, because if they don't meet the requirement, if these show-through thicknesses don't meet the requirement, then what's going to happen is your butterfly will not show through areas. There's a little physics thing that happens when you press transfer. When you apply the heat and the pressure from the press, the ink on a transfer expands just a little bit. And if something is not thick enough, area is not thick enough, then that expansion will close up. Okay? So in this case, the minimum requirement is 0.4 inches, or 2.88 points. That requirement means that if you have something that's under 0.04 inches, if you have something under that size, then it will not hold when you press the transfer. Okay? So to test that, you're going to do the same thing you did before. In my example here, I've taken a little gray line again. I've made this little gray line 0.04 inches thick in my Corel Draw program. And then I moved that line all over the butterfly to see if his areas worked. Now, if you look at the big parts of the butterfly's wings, these big open areas, they'd work perfectly fine. They're way over 0.04 inches thick. But his little details here, these little itty-bitty show-through areas here, you see these little white streaks or swishes maybe, if you want to call them that, they're not 0.04 inches thick. So if I was to press this butterfly, these big open areas, they look fine, but these small swishes would close up. You wouldn't see them. And essentially what happens is you get a screen printed design that doesn't look very professional, doesn't look very good. Now, text, we have the same problem. In this example, the word example, how convenient, the letter E is what we're looking at. The inside of that letter E is show-through, just like the inside of this letter A or the inside of this letter P. These are all show-through areas. They need to meet that 0.04 inch thick guideline. And in this case, the letter E does meet that guideline. You can see we held our little gray line up to it, and bingo. That little gray line is definitely thinner than the white area, meaning it's going to print. So again, show-through thickness is very important because if your artwork does not meet the show-through thickness, it's not going to print well. Okay? Another terminology, another term you'll hear is non-printing area as opposed to show-through or strike-through. Non-printing area means the same thing. Now, printing thickness and show-through thickness, the two things we just discussed that we ask our customers to be cognizant of. However, I understand that there are many of you out there that might not have the ability to test these things on your own, that you might not have the ability to tell if your customer has sent you artwork that meets the printed thickness or show-through thickness requirements. If that's the case, you can always send that artwork to us here at Transfer Express, and our dealer services staff will look at it, and when you send us a piece of artwork, part of our process is to tell you if your butterfly does or does not meet the requirements. So let's talk about some tips and tricks here. Software recommendations. A question we get here at Transfer time to time is, what software do you recommend? What software do you suggest I use? Now, everyone's got their different opinions, and I bet you if we locked some Corel Draw fans and some Adobe Illustrator fans in a small room for a couple hours, there's always opinions about what's better, Corel or Illustrator, Corel or Illustrator. I can't tell you which one is better, one over the other. There's all sorts of different opinions out there. But if you are curious what type of software to use for screen printing, what type of software is suggested, those are the primary softwares in our screen printing industry: Corel Draw and Adobe Illustrator. Okay, go ahead, find the websites out there, Corel.com, AdobeIllustrator.com. You can get trial versions of them. That is always suggested. Do not go out and drop $100 or more on that artwork or software packages without trying them. That is not a good investment. Make sure to get the trial versions, download them, give them a whirl. If you don't like them, uninstall them. Another little tip here, file types that we accept. Now, when customers will call up and ask the question, what types of files do you accept? I sometimes make a joke. We can take almost anything you've got. If you have a file type, odds are we probably accept it. But just for those of you who are curious, if you want a list here, these are the basic file types that we accept. This is not an exhaustive list. We do accept more types than just the ones given here, but these are the ones you see all the time. And for those of you who are not familiar with what this means, a file type is that little 3 or 4 letter extension that you'll see after your file's name on your computer. For example, if you have a customer that emailed you some artwork of cheerleading shirts they want, and you named the file cheerleading, you might see cheerleading.cdr or cheerleading.ai. That is a file type. We accept CDR, which is Corel Draw, AI, which is Adobe, PDF, EPS, JPEG, bitmap, just about anything you can think of. Let's talk about the next point down here, colors in your file. People will oftentimes ask us, well, how should I color it? How should I send it to you colored? If you're doing screen printing, it doesn't matter. You don't have to download a special palette. You don't have to use special colors. If you're sending us artwork for screen printing, just make sure to color it the way you want it colored to us. Just be consistent. We'll talk about what colors you're actually printing with the Plastisol ink. We'll talk about that over the phone. As long as you send us something consistent and something so we can get an idea of what you want, that's all we ask. However, it's very important when you send us artwork that you want to have digitally printed, anything like decals, non-apparel, CAD prints. If you're doing something digital, it's very important that you send it to us colored properly. Send it to us the way you want it in CMYK color mode. Okay? I'm sure that a whole bunch of people out there just said CMYK. What in the world is that? CMYK is a color mode. It means how your computer monitor is interpreting those colors. Okay? CMYK is a mode that is very easily set in your graphic design software. Just like the tutorials I mentioned earlier, we have a tutorial for how to convert to CMYK. It is super, super simple. Okay? That is another tutorial that's on transferexpress.com. You can access. You don't have to be logged in. It's easy to get to. But it's important to note that if you're sending us digital artwork, if you can convert it to send us CMYK, that is ideal. We can accept other modes. If you hear the term RGB, that is the alternative to CMYK. We can still accept those, but we have to convert them, and there may be slight differences in color. Another piece of terminology you'll hear oftentimes is DPI, or dots per inch. Okay, DPI is very important. You might also hear the term resolution. Resolution, DPI are all related. It's all the same concept, which is the quality of your artwork. If you're scanning something or you're sending something to us that has been scanned, you need to make sure your DPI, your resolution, is a high rating. Okay? For example, if your DPI is 72, that's the rating, a dots per inch rating of 72, that's low. That is low resolution, that's low quality. If we blow that artwork up, it's not going to look good. However, if your DPI, if your resolution is between 200 and 300, let's say, that is good. That's high quality. When we get that artwork, we can blow it up, we can make it smaller, we can work with it so that it won't look cruddy. So when you're sending us artwork, you want to make sure your DPI or your resolution is between 2 and 300 to make sure it's printed best. So let's talk about some money-saving tips here. Custom transfers can be expensive. This is not always the most cost-effective thing to do, printing custom artwork. So let's talk about some money-saving ideas. How do you save cash? Okay, simple artwork can be done with easy prints. Even if your customer is Lawson Tree Service, in our example here that you see off to the left-hand side, Lawson Tree Service comes to you and gives you this piece of artwork, the word Lawson, a tree, the word tree, and the phone number. They say, here's what I need from you. This is what I want you to do. This is easy stuff. The text is pretty simple. The tree is a plain tree. Don't rule out prints just because Lawson Tree Service says, hey, this is what I need. We might have this because it's simple. So what you do is you ask your customer, Mr. Lawson from Lawson Tree Service, can we use a font that's close to your font? As opposed to using your exact font, can we use one that's close? Now, we ask that because here at Transfer Express, we have a library of fonts in our easy prints, in our idea book. We have a whole library of fonts you could use as opposed to using Mr. Lawson's custom font here. Okay? And our fonts will be close. This is why we have so many. Secondly, you ask Lawson Tree Service, ask them, can we use a tree out of the idea book? Now, I know that sounds kind of like a silly question, but we have a whole library of clip arts in our idea book. Why pay custom pricing to draw this one tree when we might have one in our idea book that looks so close? So you ask Lawson Tree Service, can we use a font that's close? Can we use a tree out of the idea book? Then we simply take layout QAL 15, and here's the small little thumbnail of QAL 15 off to the right-hand side here with the eagle head, Compton Eagles. We use QAL 15. We change the word Compton to Lawson, change Eagles to Tree Service. We pop a tree in place of the eagle, and we can add a phone number. There's no problem adding lines of text or adding clip arts or anything, so we add the phone number. And of course, our reps will walk you through this step by step. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to come to us already, 100% in the know. We'll guide you through it step by step, but we'll take you through this process and get these things for you. So if the answer is yes to those two questions, yes, you can use a font that is close. Yes, you can use one of those other trees. If those answers are yes, then do an easy print. It saves you so much money to use the artwork out of our catalog as opposed to doing custom artwork. And here's a neat little bonus tip too. If you use artwork out of our catalog, it ships a lot faster than custom artwork. We are the fastest company in the industry. I should point this out. We are the fastest company in the industry. Custom artwork will only take you 3 days. But if you use artwork out of our easy prints, out of our idea book, it can take literally 0 days, 1 day, or 2 days, depending on what you're ordering. Something to keep in mind. All right, so we've talked about tips and tricks. We've talked about line differences. We've talked about a whole bunch of stuff in this in this, what are we at, like 40 minutes? I know I'm getting close to the end here. But one of the most important things that you all ask us, that people ask us every day, is how do I send you? How do I upload you artwork? Something we get asked all the time. Now, our reps will walk you through it. We'll explain it to you verbally, but we felt it might be worth it here if we take an extra minute to show you. I am actually going to walk you through right now uploading a piece of artwork with your Transfer Express. So if you have that electronic file somebody has emailed to you, or let's say somebody gave you a business card and you scanned it on your scanner at home, or maybe you took a photograph of it with your cell phone or your digital camera. Here's how you upload it to us. First of all, step one, you're going to go to www.transferexpress.com and you're going to click Send Us Your Artwork. So I'm going to pop out here. If I can, hold on, back a slide. There we go. Sorry about that. We're going to pop out to the website. Here's transferexpress.com. Send Us Your Artwork is the first button right top, the brown background. Send us your artwork. For those of you who have not gotten used to our new website, it is still at the top of the page. So I'm going to click Send Us Your Artwork. You'll notice another window has popped up. Let's enlarge that here. This window gives you some options. It asks you if you're a Transfer Express dealer, if you're new to Transfer Express, etc. In this example, I'm going to say I am a Transfer Express dealer, so that means we're going to click on this very first box here. This very first box says I'm a Transfer Express dealer. Now this is where you're going to need to have your dealer ID and your password. That's very easily given to you. If you call our dealer services department, we will get that for you lickety-split. In this case, I'm going to enter my dealer ID number. I guess I have to type it right, huh? And my password. Okay, so now we are in. This is the upload screen. Now you'll notice it's telling me I do not have any uploads currently. That means I haven't uploaded anything lately, but I'm going to do so right now. There is a button at the very top corner here that says Upload File. This blue button here, I'm going to click. Now at this point, it's going to run you through a couple questions. It's going to ask things like what your company name is, your contact name, your contact phone number, your email address. That's simple stuff. Give us the information of where you're at right now. If you're sending us an upload, we're going to want to talk to you, so make sure to include the phone number that we can reach you at. If you're not in the office, don't put your office phone number. So I'm going to type in my information here. I'm Andy. That is my phone number and my email address. Artwork description is just give us a one-word description of what you're sending us. The artwork that I'm going to upload right now is cheerleading, so I'm going to say cheer artwork. So now tell us about your artwork. What is your quantity? What's your size? This is not set in stone. Do not think that just because this is what you tell us that you have to get this. Okay? This is just so we have a rough idea of what you're doing when we get your artwork. So I'm going to say I've got a group of cheerleaders plus, let's say, a couple parents. I'm going to need 25 total pieces. And my general size, well, gosh, let's see, there's so many choices here. You could specify one of these sizes, or you can click the very top option, say specify size, and then a little text box will open up for you to type your size. Or from this drop-down, I'm just going to choose standard adult size. 11 by 11. That's the old standby. That's what I'm going to do. Next, it asks ink formulas. Again, you're not locked into what you choose. As a matter of fact, I venture a guess here that most people who do uploads, they're not even sure 100% which ink formula they should use. We'll talk that out with you. Now, I happen to know that I like Goof Proof. That's my favorite. I'm going to choose Goof Proof. As soon as I choose Goof Proof, you'll notice a whole color palette opens up. Again, you're not locked into these choices. We're just asking you, do you know what colors you want? If you don't, there's a choice for unknown. Click unknown. I know that my artwork is going to be red, so I'm going to come down here and I'm going to choose red. That's what color that I'm going to print. Bear in mind that the colors you're seeing here, folks, these colors are just for representation. This is not guaranteed exactly what your artwork is going to look like color-wise. These are just representations. So now I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Wait for the screen to catch up with everybody here. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and it says fabric information. Tell us about your apparel. So I'm printing on cotton ash garments. So I'm going to choose cotton from the drop-down here. And from the color, I'm going to choose ash. Now again, these are not set in stone, folks. We just need to have a rough idea of what you're doing. That's all. Now, the last section here, section 5, is the notes section. These are any additional notes you might need to tell us. Anything you want us to know ahead of time, anything you think you need to tell us. Something we love to know is if you know what the name of the font is that's in your artwork, but regardless. In this case, I don't have any additional notes that I feel like I need to type, so I'm just going to leave it blank. The last step is the artwork you're sending us. I'm going to click Browse, and my artwork is saved here under My Documents. Now, you need to remember, if you're sending us artwork, make sure to know where it's at on your computer. If you're saving it from an email, if you're downloading it from a disk, make sure to note where you're saving it to so you know where it's at on your computer. In this case, here it is. My artwork is cheerleading.cdr. That's what I'm sending. So I'm going to double-click it, or I can just click the Open button here. Either way, I'm going to double-click that. And now I simply click the word Send Artwork. Now, here's the funny thing, folks. It went that fast. If your artwork was a big file, you would have seen a loading bar, and it would take a couple seconds, but it was literally that quick. And now the page that we were on a minute ago that just told us you don't have artwork, now you can see there is something. Here's the artwork we just sent, approximately 15 minutes to analyze. Here's the time and date. Here's that artwork. You just saw me type that. Here's the name of the file and the status it's been given. All right, everybody, so that quick walkthrough, I know that was a little bit fast. Ooh, as I absolutely wrong thing here. Sorry, for just a second. There we go. There's our presentation. So I sort of blew right by this one, but again, we chose the box based on who we were, Transfer Express dealer. All right, I know that was relatively fast, everybody. I know we can how to upload a little bit quickly, but if you ever have questions, if you're trying to upload and you have issues, please feel free to call us. We will help to the best of our ability. All right, everybody. This wraps it up. This is the conclusion. We did talk a little bit longer than I anticipated. Jody, if you have any simple questions we could maybe answer, I'll see what we can do. We have a couple minutes.
Okay. One question was, what if I send my custom artwork as vector and does not need to be redrawn? Is it Easy Print or is it Easy Print Plus?
Oh, that's a great question. Kudos to whoever came up with that one. If you send your vector artwork to us and it's ready to go and it's good vector art, it's still considered Easy Prints Plus. Now, the reason for this is your custom artwork, even if it's vector, that custom artwork has to go to an actual human graphic designer that actually still has to check your artwork. I know you might have sent us vector, but we still have to check everything. We have to know what we're sending through. So those files do still go to a human being who does have to look things over. Easy Print pricing is cheaper pricing because Easy Prints can be partially designed by an AI. We have a special artificial intelligence here at Transfer Express. We call him Drawbot. Drawbot helps us make our Easy Print artwork, so it doesn't always have to go to a person. So yes, your vector artwork is still considered Easy Prints Plus. Got anything else there, Jody?
Yes. Do you take digitized embroidery files for artwork, such as a DST or a PFX file?
We do get digitized files on a regular basis, actually. The extensions, the three-letter extensions, escape me, to be totally honest with you. But we do get digitized artwork on a regular basis. It's not our favorite, to be totally honest with you. We will use it. We will absolutely work from it. It's considered a guide only because we can't use it as vector artwork, but we will absolutely take that file and we'll tell you what we can do with it, and we'll work it with you. That's not a problem.
Okay, and we'll just one final question. The attendees want to know how they can get
Sure.
an idea book.
If you're interested in getting an idea book, our contact information is right up on the slide right now. You're looking at the phone number, email address, and our website. You can get an idea book by going to any one of those three things. Give us a call and tell us you want one. Shoot an email to info@transferexpress.com. Our marketing team are fantastic people. They will love to get you an idea book, or hit our website to request one. All right, everybody, I appreciate you joining us. Please make sure to come back to Great Garment Graphics on May 17th. Stalls ID Direct is doing a webinar called A Video Guide to Decorating Team Uniforms. That will be a lot of fun. Or if you're interested, on June 14th, you can join me, Andy Curtis. I will be coming back to you. We're going to talk about how to decorate on different apparel types. I have been involved in that webinar before. It's a lot of fun. We're going to talk about that June 14th. Thank you so much for everybody for attending. I had a good time telling you all about artwork today. And if you had questions we didn't get to, we will email the answers to you. Have a fantastic rest of your day.